this series after it fell off for a decade or two between the SNES and Wii eras, and quite a return it was. The initial 3 titles were well known for pushing the limits of their hardware and providing gorgeous and revolutionary environments. While Nintendo's new console at the time was far from graphically advanced, Return still did all it could to push the Wii's boundaries, and that shows in each and every one of the game's 64 lively levels. While I won't be covering them all today, join me as I discuss my top 10 favorite levels in Donkey Kong Country Returns. Well, let's start bold with a level that I hated as a kid and have grown to appreciate over time. I hope you like spiders, because at number 10 is Muncher Marathon. While it's not the easiest, World 5 actually seems to take the award as being the least chaotic world present in Returns, but the one chaotic level it does have is perhaps the most so in the game. The world's first few levels are actually quite nice to explore, but that all changes the moment cheese balls are encountered, or whatever these are supposed to be. After a quick hop upon said cheese balls, which raises even more questions as to why they're as bouncy, spiders are the primary obstacles of what is arguably the game's most stressful level. Over time, I've learned to push my fears aside, and now I can see just how well designed this stage truly is. The usage of conveniently placed enemies, walls, barrel cannons, and other obstacles that force you to wait while the horde of insects creeps up on you is done extremely well here. The player often having to backtrack or wait in this way assures that the spiders will remain right on their tail at all times. No part of the level is overly difficult or unfair, seems to slow the pace or ease the tension either. Not to mention the music track, which just about doubles the player's anxiety. This next level is another one I actually hated as a kid, but this time just too difficult for me. At number 9 is Long Shot Launch. This level contains some challenges which revolve around timing numerous barrel cannon shots. Nothing new to the series, but I feel like it's done more creatively than usual here. Every now and then, a somewhat leisurely break from the timing-based madness is encountered as well to even things out. While all of this is great, the main reason I've come to adore this level is its atmosphere. Returns, just like all the other games in this series, does a phenomenal job of making environments feel alive and real. And Long Shot Launch is one of my favorite showcases of that. The terrain of wood teeming with insects, plants, mushrooms, and tikis alike, and the sweeping shots that occur when transitioning to another portion of the stage really helps to sell that this is an actual forest. All sorts of life. I also appreciate that some of the many tiki obstacles in this stage are present in the background, as well, showing that they weren't just slapped in for the hell of it and actually have a notable presence within the forest. And lastly, once again discussing music, this level is made even better due to its track, which is a much updated rendition of Treetop Rock from the original trilogy. We're following the pattern of levels that never would have made it onto this list if I made it a few years ago. At number 8 is Furious Fire. The namesake of this level is evident the moment it's entered. The developers truly nailed the feeling of a final world, a base of sorts for the Tiki tribe here. Not only due to the difficulty being racked up, and reasonably so, but also thanks to the deep chants and raspy, chaotic instrumentation of the music track present, the boiling magma and threatening foes, and the general look of the area as a whole, this level truly lets the player know this is it. You're almost there, but it's gonna be one hell of a push to the end. From the levels where the player leaves the factory behind and tropical trees are seen charred and blackened, it's immediately apparent that this stage isn't messing around. Nearly all the enemies here are hot to the touch and must be handled with extreme caution, especially the massive chars present, which can't even be defeated and must instead be carefully maneuvered around while simultaneously accounting for crumbling platforms and other fiery opponents. While the previous two levels did a great job at showing how lively the forest can be, this one does a magnificent job at portraying just how deadly a volcano is. From its challenging layout to its dangerously gorgeous visuals and foreboding music, Furious Fire is one beast I love to tackle. Well, this is gonna be an odd shift, from a deadly volcano with intimidating tribal tunes to a sunset shore with groovy jazz. And number 7 is, well, Sunset Shore. This one's got decent level design, I guess. Now, don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with it. The stage is a blast to traverse from start to finish, but I think it's pretty clear already why I love this one so much. That gorgeous sunset and the silhouette art style that comes paired with it. Just as I mentioned when discussing Busted Bayou in my Tropical Freeze video, this art style is a change of pace and an absolutely stunning one from what we're used to. While Foggy Fumes contains an arguably more interesting layout and a few neat little references to some classic games, I particularly like the warm colors apparent in Sunset Shore. And though Smoky Peak has both a more interesting layout and warm colors, well, 1, I never really cared for Rambi in any game of the series, and 2, it doesn't do much with its unique style other than look cool, while this stage does. Sunset Shore contains numerous collectibles which actually involve manipulating the environment's eye-catching background, in ways such as centering the sun within a particular crevice of the sun and aligning a few scenes seamlessly indistinguishable rocks in the background to form a giant banana. It's this clever usage of the background that makes me choose this stage over the other two similar to it. I plan to talk about how jazzy the music track is as well, with its thick upright bass parts, but you probably heard them all at this point, so let's move. Notice that with every level thus far I've mentioned the music, which is no surprise given how much I love this game's soundtrack, and it's safe to say that trend won't be going anywhere with number 6, music. Simply thanks to its mechanical melody alone, however. What's true of its mechanics operate to the beat of said melody. Mallets acting as percussion elements smash into the ground on tempo and can allow the congs to gain some decent cymbal-like contraptions serve to not only add a nice beat, but also to crush Donkey and Diddy in their tracks. Later on in the level, platforms are introduced that shift positions to the music, requiring the player to carefully time their jumps, as are these strange water and fire canisters, which take turns operating back and forth, and these bass drums, which are so large the player can almost lose track of their character due to the camera being zoomed out such a great distance. All these elements require the player to not only focus on the stage itself, but also its music. While this isn't the first, last, or even best example I've seen of instrumentation being implemented as a gimmick into video games, Music Madness is still a very welcome addition to Return's arsenal of levels, and was one of my first fond memories of enjoying video game music as a kid. I almost